Hi again then guys, and welcome to another circuit spec setup, in particular with handling and grip and usability in mind for pros and also beginners as well, both in terms of tuning and driving style. And this is actually a requested car, a vehicle which I hadn't necessarily expected to do a tune for anytime soon, but it was a request and a recent one, so I thought, sure, why not? Now, as you saw from the thumbnail, probably, it says N300, but as with most, if not all, of my road-going tunes, you can use this in multiple classes if you want to. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because the car itself just feels better in N300, whereas of course once you get up around N4, N5 and certainly N600, you got some pretty hefty competition. However, around N300 and perhaps N400, it's a pretty good one to go for. Now, as far as the tuning itself, I've dropped the weight as far as it can go, and of course, that makes a huge difference to a car like this. The power is on the peak of N300, which, handily enough, is actually completely stock. As far as traction control, I would recommend turning it off because it's no way near as tail happy as you're expecting it to be. Usually the Hyundai Genesis is tail sliding all over the place. It's a great drift car, a lot of fun, but the diff tuning in particular has almost completely eliminated that. You will be shocked if you haven't driven your Genesis in a while and then try this tune with it. Of course, you could try traction control and then turn it off if you need to. We've got sport soft tyres. Of course, racing ones will be even quicker, but sometimes you might not be able to use those, so we still want to know what it can do when you don't have the optimum tyres, so that's what we've gone for sports instead. As far as the suspension, I've got it 10mm higher than stock, which is 95 and 115 respectively, 1.85 for the frequency on the springs, 7 and 6 for the anti-roll bars, 63 as you can see for the compression side of the dampers, with 92 on the rebound. Perhaps surprisingly no camber, which for a front engine rear wheel drive drift happy car is not the kind of thing that you typically do, but I actually find that you don't really need it on this one. And neutral toe as well. It does have a wing, but you cannot adjust the downforce, of course. As far as the diff, crucially, this is really where it's all at as far as the handling. I'd recommend, as you can see, having them all as low as possible. It just gets the job done. It's as simple as that. Super simple solution to being tail happy. It completely changes the car, as I said, and funnily enough, it actually makes it feel almost like an all-wheel drive car sometimes. Now, in terms of the gearbox, you could leave it stock because it's very similar, but as we've seen from other tunes, you do get through the gearbox quicker and it can shave about a second or so off of your lap. So I'd recommend an auto setting of 193, and of course that is miles per hour, not kilometers. And then for the individual gears, 2.6, 1.8, 1375, 1.1, 0.9, 0.750 and a final drive of 3.75. I find that works pretty well for the car. Of course, you could change it if you want to, and if you do increase the power, say to N400, and definitely if you go higher, you will want to change those because you'll want to get more out of the car, of course, and not just top out on the red line in 6th gear. But that's it for the tune. Of course, there's plenty of room for variation from driver to driver, your skill level, experience level, etc. So what you want to see is how it compares to some of my other tunes in terms of actual lap times. So to give you some idea of what this car can do, because typically speaking I would not think of the Genesis as an ideal track car. It's kind of big, it's kind of heavy, it's very tail happy, very playful, which is all great for a road car, but not exactly ideal for a race car or for a track car or a competition machine. But this lap, which is interestingly exactly a 0.999, as you'll see when I cross the line, about a second and a half quicker than my N300 tune for the Mitsubishi Evo 4. That's a pretty impressive comparison to be able to make. That car has the advantage of, I believe, weight, if I remember correctly, and of course has all-wheel drive as well. Plus, it's an Evo, which is kind of known for being a good track car and a great rally car as well. So for this to be a second and a half quicker, also on sports tyres as well, it shows the kind of potential that this car has. It's super easy to drive. The handling actually falls on the opposite end of the spectrum now. It's a little bit heavier than you'd expect, but for beginners I think that's perfect. You can really learn how to use the car very quickly Brake a little bit earlier, of course, than something like a supercar or a race car. Turn in with a lot of heaviness to the steering. You can really throw the car into a corner, and then just give it a little bit of throttle control, but you can actually put your foot down quite easily and it still doesn't tail slide anywhere near as much, in fact barely at all compared to what it is before. So if you do decide to use it, I hope you have a ton of fun with it, and of course stick around on the channel for more tunes and click here on screen to see all of my dozens of other tunes. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.